good morning, good afternoon, good evening, willkommen, yokozo, wherever you are in the world, hi. Swishbone here, checking back in with the first vlog of this kind that I've done for a while, especially relating to video games. I upgraded to the PS4 a few months ago, and while I adore playing Batman Arkham Knight, the side quest nature of the main villains like Two-Face and Riddler and Penguin, Deathstroke, got on my nerves. I also agree with Angry Joe that this was very much a case of World of Tanks Batman Edition. Not quite what I signed up for. Still, I want to talk about a very exciting period for me because, as we all know, a few months ago, a large piece of news was announced. The remake of this. My personal favourite RPG. The game that redefined my childhood. On a recent trip to Japan, I managed to find this baby. Nice little 100 yen figurine of Aerith Gainsborough, the Ancient. Yes, I am a nerd. I agree. But you already knew that. So, FF7. When the remake was announced, I resisted doing a reaction video, purely because it was like almost a Advent Children-esque FMV, where you saw the world of the game, but you didn't see the actual game. I wanted to see some more meat and bones of what it had been like, rather than saying, well, it's going to be set in this world. Well, yeah, of course, that's fine. But how does the game work? How does that world function? That's what I wanted before I did my reaction video, and last night, we got it. It's only about 2 minutes long, but the footage shows how the game looks like it's going to work. And to me, what they've done is taken the original game, its settings, the kind of story arcs, even the quotes and the dialogue, but fused it with the mechanics and control of Crisis Core. This is a very good thing, because Final Fantasy VII, for those who haven't either played it in years, or those who've never played it, is the old school, traditional, turn-based RPG. Your character's walking around the world and then and suddenly you're in a random encounter and there's enemies there and you're waiting for your time bar to fill up before you can take your move. For the limitations of the technology back in the day, very appropriate. And I still enjoy playing those kind of games, the likes of Final Fantasy VII, the likes of Breath of Fire 3, the likes of Wild Arms, because they're still nostalgic classics to me. But the fact of the matter is, in the modern world, that kind of gameplay doesn't really work. More real-time, higher tech where you can interact more with your surroundings is the order of the day. Now, the footage shows the main characters. It shows Barrett, it shows Cloud, it shows Biggs, it shows Wedge, and it shows Jesse. So you see the first Avalanche, the very first one, and the character designs look brilliant. They look really nice. They've all got the nice original look and model, but they've been made a lot more fleshed out, a lot more HD. The whole thick arm, thin stalk, thick arm thing is gone. They have proper moulds now, which is fantastic. The design of them is traditional and fresh as well. Barrett's gun arm is still there, but it looks like, instead of having the huge, obtrusive grey one that you can see in many of the FMV footages, he's now got a gap, almost like the front arm cannon that you find on an Apache gunship helicopter. It looks a lot sleeker, a lot more streamlined, and a lot more menacing, which is excellent. The voice acting is nice and good. They've resisted the urge to get Mr. T to do Barrett's voiceover. Mr. T might have influenced Barrett, but let's be honest, would you want Barrett going, "I pity the fool"? Now that would have been one sense beyond tribute into parody, and that's not what this is about. It looks like this game is going to come out on the 20th anniversary era of the original game, which is what I always maintained. Many years ago on Game FAQs, they were all saying, oh, it's definitely going to get remade for the PlayStation 2. Oh, we've seen the tech demo for the PlayStation 3. It's no doubt it's coming out. I knew it wasn't true. I was like, if they're going to make it, it'll be the 20th anniversary. And that's a big if. And most people wrote it off. It was a real surprise when it was pulled out of the closet at E3 this year. And the footage for the game looked great. There was one brief moment where it showed Cloud and Barrett in a fight with guards. Now, I'm interested in how that's going to work. If you played Crisis Core, you always controlled one character, and then you got into the battle and just mashed the buttons and did your own combos your own way. This is very different. By having the two characters together, what I'd really like is for their individual characteristics to be exploited. So Barrett and Vincent, for example, are both long-range weapon shooters. Barrett being very gruff, he'd be the kind of guy I'd want to be able to put behind a huge set of boxes with his cannon and just mowing enemies down, screaming battle cries and insults, telling them all to come get him. Whereas Vincent, because of his more vampiric, more fluid nature, I'd like to see him being able to do kind of what Dante did in the Devil May Cry games, where you can like use your guns and flip between pillars and use that effect he used in Advent Children, where it became like liquid. It'd be interesting to use that as a mechanic to go between different areas and exploit cover. Yuffie, for example, with her ninja skills and the fact that she's often shown as a person who throws, I'd like to see her be able to use improvised scenarios. So say for example she throws a shuriken and then another enemy's coming, she like rips an old drain pipe off the wall and throws that like a lance. That'd be an interesting mechanic. You can have Sid and Tifa and Cloud being up close brutes, doing a few tag team moves, because we saw with the likes of Chrono Trigger how you could have two characters combined to do one move. It would be nice to see that kind of thing done in the Final Fantasy VII world. Like Cloud using his sword as like a huge platform to slingshot Tifa off, almost like Colossus and Wolverine and the X-Men with the Super Bowl move. It'd be nice to see that kind of idea exploited as well. Speaking of Crisis Core and Dirge of Cerberus and Advent Children now, are they going to amalgamate all of these into one plot? Because, of course, they're very different and they alter the timelines their own way. The way Crisis Core plays out with what happened all those years ago and how Cloud joined Soldier is very different from what's in the core game. What happens in Advent Children is also very different. So, for me, there's lots of threads available here to turn this into one super game. And for me, it would be fitting if this was the final Final Fantasy. Because for most people, particularly in Europe, this game was a gateway to RPGs. They were there before, don't get me wrong. The likes of Zelda, the likes of Soleil, Landstalker, Story of Force, Shining Force, these kind of games were there, but they were not as marketed. You always saw in their place the likes of Streets of Rage, Sonic, the Mario games. You didn't really see these adventure RPG games. And while Shadowrun and Chrono Trigger did the whole dystopian future plots before Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII is the one that's seen as dragging the genre, kicking and screaming into the 21st century. We saw the likes of the commentary on alternative fuels and whether they're poisoning the planet. You had terrorism, you had genetic modification, you had corporations abusing power, you had public rioting and uprising, you had war, you had cultural erosion. There's lots of different threads which are still quite relevant in the modern world that were done in Final Fantasy VII, so that's why it's an important game. They could even make this kind of almost like a modern social commentary about things that have happened since. It's a question of how they're going to take the game forward. The one thing that will annoy me a little bit here is that Cloud appears to have that voice between the badass and the emo. There's no reason for it. He never was an emo in the original game. He always was a badass. Now don't get me wrong, a Revelation shows why it makes sense for him to have emo things, but it shouldn't be his default persona. I'd like to see the return to the original biker badass who did not care. And to be fair, when Wedge asks him in the trailer why he's doing it, it seems like they've got that potentially down, so my fingers are still firmly crossed. I'm going to put the original trailer from E3 2015 and the modern gameplay one as well in the description below, just so you can all take a look. If you have not seen it already, tell me your opinions. Please give me your comments and I might even do a follow-up video. You're also going to be spoiled because I have a second video coming soon, as I have got myself a peripheral that I'm going to unbox and showcase to the world. But more on that later. In the meantime, I've been Swishbone. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe. Send your comments, abusive or friendly. Preferably friendly, but an abusive one I'll also get a bit of mirth from maybe as well. And I'll see you all next time.